Okay, so let's start Scratch. And I'm going to use this to start Scratch. I'm just going to type Scratch, and hopefully we'll get to the Scratch window. Now I'm going to do this project, I'm going to do little bits of code at a time so that you can sort of play the video, maybe 5-10 minutes, and that will be all. And there's going to be quite a few videos, so try and take them in order. Don't play around with things, just do what I say and we should be fine. So here we go, let's make a start. This is Scratch. The first thing that I want to do is upload a new sprite. I'm not going to use the cat sprite, so I'm going to go to sprites. I'm going to choose the upload sprite, go to my downloads folder. I'm in my downloads folder, and the sprite that I'm going to do, actually it's just an image, it's called rocket.png. If I click on open, then we will get the picture of a rocket, and there we go. And I'm going to delete my cat sprite, so that's all I've got at the moment. It's going to take quite a few videos before we actually get this to make a move. I've got to do a fair amount of maths, so you'll have to bear with me. I'll tell you and show you when we can actually make a move. We're going to do what we did when we did the maze. If you got as far as doing variables, we're going to start by creating a load of variables. So I'm going to click on variables and click on make a new variable. Please watch what I do. This is very important. Make sure it's for this sprite only, and then give it a name. And do the name exactly as I spell it, D-I-R-E-C-T-I-O-N, for direction. And click OK. We're going to do 4. We're going to have direction. Then we're going to click on make a variable for this sprite only. I'm going to call it old space Y. And I'll explain what these do a little bit later. Then I'm going to have another variable called on this sprite only, X space velocity. And that's how fast it's going to go in the X direction. That's horizontal. And I'm going to do another one which tells me how fast it goes up and down. So for this sprite only again, and I'm going to have it called Y velocity. So I've created 4 variables. They're on the screen. Notice they're preceded with the word rocket. That means they just belong to the rocket. I've got direction, old Y, X velocity and Y velocity. I'm now going to take the ticks out of the boxes to get rid of them off the screen. Now I'm ready to begin to start coding. So I'm going to do 2 bits of code and then move on to the next video, so you can play this over and over again if you need to. So the first thing we need to do is go to events and when clicked. You should be familiar with this, and I'm going to set up all of those variables. So I'm going to go to my variables and I'm going to drag out 3 sets, 1, 2, 3. The first one, I'm going to change it to be the X velocity. Then I'm going to change that one to be the Y velocity, and finally I'm going to leave that one as direction, and I'm going to join them to my when clicked. There we go. Now at the moment I'm not going to change any values, I'll change those later. One further thing that I want to do when I click is take my rocket to the center of the screen, and I'm going to do that by going to motion and go to XY, and I'm going to set it to 0 and 0. So all of these numbers here at the moment are 0. That's X velocity, Y velocity and direction. So that's that one done. Now I'm going to have a little loop constantly which really just makes the rocket fall down all the time that the game is playing, and it's your job to try and keep it going upwards. So I'm going to do that with, again, when clicked. You'll find I use these an awful lot, and this is the other thing that I use an awful lot, forever. This is called a loop, forever, and what that's going to do, let's go to variables. We are going to change the Y velocity, that's how fast it goes up and down, by a very small amount, minus 0.05. That's a very small amount. We can play around with that later if you want, but for the time being, just keep the same values that I've got. If I click the green flag now, absolutely nothing should happen apart from it goes to the center of the screen. Notice that it's constantly changing the Y velocity. We can see that if I put a tick in the Y velocity, there we go. It's constantly changing this value, and we shall use that in our game later. So that's our first set of code. We shall write in the next video a little bit more to see if we can get this rocket moving.